Okay, so I'm going to be explaining the concepts of pedigrees using a very multi-generational Disney family called the Riveras from the movie Coco. If you've ever seen the movie, this family possesses a very special trait between Coco and her great grandson Miguel. They can actually talk to the dead in their family, so that is the trait that we will be focusing on today. So we'll be looking at the modes of inheritance of the seeing the dead trait between Coco and Miguel. And there's several that work. X-linked dominant, X-linked recessive, autosomal dominant, and autosomal recessive. For X-linked recessive, in order to express this trait, for females, you have to have the recessive little dx, and for males, you have to have X, D, and Y because this is a sex-linked trait, and this trait is passed through the sex chromosomes. For X-linked traits, the males get their Y chromosome from their dad and the X from their mom, and girls, they get one X from their dad and one X from their mom. We also see that autosomal dominant is consistent with this pedigree as well. This is not a sex-linked chromosome, as the trait is just being passed regularly, focusing on the trait. And the seeing the dead gene is represented by capital D, or capital D, lowercase d. We also see that autosomal recessive is consistent with this pedigree, as represented by little d for the trait seeing the dead for both Coco and Miguel. This, once again, is very similar to autosomal dominant, where the trait is not linked to sex chromosomes. Another mode of inheritance that's consistent with the Rivera pedigree is X-linked dominant, where the trait of seeing the dead is linked with a capital D, and we see that this is a successful pedigree because both Coco has the capital DX, lowercase dx, and Miguel has capital DX and Y. A mode of inheritance that is not successful is Y-linked. We know this because Miguel is able to talk to the dead, but his father is not, and the definition of Y-linked traits is any trait that the father has must be passed on to the son. So we see that that is not successful here. Thank you for following my Revere family pedigree, and the following references were used for this presentation.